Hi, back again, video diary. I promised to try and keep them up, so I'm sticking to my word here and trying to get them up every day. So, um, beautiful spring weather, very different to yesterday. So, just what's happened today so far? Well, at the track this morning, it was major gallop morning, so we're doing a lot of post gallop endoscopes, looking for any signs of tracheal mucus or bleeding, and also assessing throat function. So we try and keep a record of all those throats that we scope them every time, because throats will deteriorate over time. Some of them, some will just stay static and they'll be fine. I know a couple of horses off the top of my head that have had poor function of the throat. So by that I mean they're potential roarers, so they've got laryngeal hemiplegia. Left-sided is mostly the side that goes, but they've stayed pretty static. So we grade them 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is broken into 3A, 3B. 1 and 2 is relatively normal. 3A, we're starting to lose function. 3B, more function loss. And 4, we've got no function, so they can't abduct, pull out the left side of the throat. So they'll often have decreased performance, especially if they race over a further distance than 1400 meters. Generally, we find they'll cope fine up to about that, but after that they start to deteriorate. So then we're looking for signs of bleeding, bleeding out of the lungs, exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhage. It's a common problem. A lot of racehorses, 75-80% of racehorses will exhibit at some point in their life some exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhage. And then also we're looking for tracheal mucus. So this time of year, with the changing seasons, we know from our historical data this is a high chance time when we get sort of little coughs and colds. So we need to treat those and get on top of them. It's a really good time of the year to really be getting on to top of this and really scoping your horses regularly post gallops, because they really will have a high chance of tracheal mucus. Like this morning, I'd say probably 60% of horses had tracheal mucus post work, and that's we find that change in weather. So that cold, damp yesterday, beautiful clean skies today. It's often hard to get rugs right, to get temperature right. Some people are closing barn doors because it's cold at night. The airflow decreases, so it's something to really keep on top of. So spring fast approaching for performance breeders. So you've got a mare, you're thinking about taking an embryo off for the flush ET, or you're thinking about possibly putting your mare in foal. So what things you need to consider? First of all, I'll do competition horses. You want to try and work out what your competition schedule is. So mares will be more fertile a little bit later in the season, when it's more they are very, very respondent to weather and daylight. So as it gets longer days, fertility will improve. So it's very hard, not impossible, but it's harder to get mares in foal and get embryos at this early stage in the season. You're better to leave it a little bit later, but then you don't want it to be too hot. So when it's exceptionally hot, January, February time, it can be harder to get embryos out of mares. So look at your competition schedule, work out what your plan is. Some mares, and one mare springs to mind, you could literally be full competition mode and she'd still produce embryos. Other mares are a little bit sensitive, so you've got to really work out what the plan is, and assign a few, sort of 3 or 4 weeks that the horse can go off to the vet clinic to be flushed for embryo transfer. Ideally, you want to check your mare cycling and everything's going well before you sort of head off there. Make sure it's going well. Keep a record of her ovulations. If you have got them on Regulate, they'll have to come off, but you can use that to your advantage. So if you've got a mare that's cycling and you want to then do an embryo transfer, we know that roughly about 85% of mares will ovulate within sort of 5 to 6 days after coming off ovumate. So Regulate or progesterone. So keep that in mind. For any of thoroughbred breeders, you need to get your swabs done before the start of the not before the start of the season, before the mare goes to stud. Now, why do we do swabs? What are we looking for? We're looking for a condition called contagious equine metritis, which is a trifecta of bacteria. So we swab the clitoris and the clitoral fossa, and we swab the cervix to check that there's no Klebsiella pseudomonas growth. That's a requirement for all thoroughbreds, because it's natural cover. It's a really good thing to do. You dot your I's and cross your T's, and you're protecting your mare and the stallion as well. If you've had a mare that's previously been difficult to get in foal, it might be worthwhile getting biopsies done of the uterus, if you've got a problem, if the mare struggled to carry, or it's had any history of placentitis. So keep all those things in check, and keep an eye on things and getting ready for the season coming ahead. So it is important to sort of start to think about it now. It's not long before it's Christmas, to be honest, sadly. It'll go really quickly, so you want to really time in things with your competition schedule and when you want mares to foal, if the mare's going to carry it. So that's about it for today. A little few other calls later in the day. We'll follow them up, and I'll catch up tomorrow. Cheers, bye.